There is something your soulmate never expected to discover, and the moment they uncovered it, nothing about this connection felt the same again. For the longest time, they believed they understood the reasons behind your silence. They assumed you had simply chosen to keep your distance, to hide your emotions, or to move through life without letting anyone get too close. But recently, a truth quietly found its way into their heart, and it revealed a completely different story. The person they thought had simply stayed quiet was actually carrying a burden that few people could have endured. Listen carefully, because some of the deepest battles are never fought where the world can see them. They are fought behind gentle smiles, calm conversations, and quiet acts of kindness that hide an ocean of emotions beneath the surface. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that while they were trying to understand your actions, they never stopped to ask what you were silently surviving. That realization has shaken them more deeply than they ever imagined. Suddenly, memories they once overlooked have begun returning with new meaning. They remember moments when your smile seemed just a little quieter than usual, times when your eyes revealed exhaustion, even though your words insisted everything was fine, and occasions when you encouraged everyone around you while asking for nothing in return. Back then, they believed those moments were ordinary. Now they see they were quiet cries for understanding that no one recognized. The thought that you carried so much without asking anyone to carry it with you has left them with a feeling they cannot easily explain. Their heart aches not because you were weak, but because they now understand how incredibly strong you had to become. Every memory feels different. Every conversation carries a weight they never noticed before. They cannot stop wondering how many nights you faced your struggles alone while making sure everyone else felt supported. They cannot stop asking themselves how many times they mistook your silence for distance, when, in reality, it was courage holding everything together. And the deeper they reflect, the more they realize that your greatest battle was never visible on the outside. It was hidden behind the compassion you continued showing, even when your own heart desperately needed comfort. What they are uncovering now is changing everything they believed about you, because they are finally seeing that your silence was never emptiness. It was quiet resilience, quiet sacrifice, and a love that continued giving even while carrying pain no one else ever knew existed. This discovery has broken something inside them, because they finally understand that the strongest souls are often the ones who suffer the most without ever asking the world to notice. And listen carefully, because after learning that you had been carrying a silent battle all this time, your soulmate found themselves noticing something they had never noticed before. It was not one dramatic memory that changed everything. It was dozens of small moments that suddenly came alive with a completely different meaning. They began remembering the little pauses in your conversations, the times you smiled before quietly changing the subject whenever anyone asked how you were doing, and the moments when you always seemed more interested in making sure everyone else was comfortable than speaking about your own struggles. At the time, they never questioned those habits. They simply believed that was who you were. But now they understand those moments were not personality traits alone. They were signs of someone carrying far more than anyone realized. Because your heart needs this right now. The strongest people often become experts at convincing the world they are perfectly fine. Not because they enjoy hiding the truth, but because they fear becoming a burden to the people they care about. They learn to carry heavy emotions with quiet dignity, believing that protecting others somehow matters more than asking for help themselves. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that this has been your story all along. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more they realized that your silence was never empty. It was filled with countless unspoken thoughts, difficult decisions, and emotions you chose to process alone. They remembered occasions when life became challenging for everyone around you, yet somehow you were always the one offering encouragement. You became the steady voice when others felt uncertain. You became the calm presence when emotions ran high. Looking back now, they cannot help asking themselves one painful question. Who was taking care of you while you were taking care of everyone else? That question has remained in their heart because they no longer believe strength means never struggling. They now understand that true strength sometimes looks like waking up every day, carrying invisible pain, and still choosing kindness over bitterness. That realization has filled them with a respect they never knew they were missing. They have started seeing your past through an entirely different lens. Moments they once believed showed emotional distance now appear as quiet exhaustion. Times they assumed you simply needed space now seem like moments when you were gathering enough strength to keep moving forward. Even your silence has taken on a completely different meaning. Instead of seeing someone who had nothing to say, they now see someone who had too much to carry and did not know how to put it into words. Because your heart needs this right now. Not every battle leaves visible scars. Some of the deepest wounds remain hidden behind everyday routines, polite conversations, and the simple decision to keep going when giving up would have felt easier. Those unseen battles often shape a person's character more than anyone could ever imagine. Your soulmate has begun recognizing that the compassion you showed was not born from an easy life. It was born from understanding pain without allowing pain to define you. That discovery has touched them more deeply than they can explain. And listen carefully, because one memory continues returning above all the others. It was an ordinary day that seemed completely unremarkable at the time. You smiled, offered your support, listened patiently, and quietly made someone else's burden feel lighter. Nothing about that moment appeared extraordinary. Yet now, knowing what you were privately facing during that season, your soulmate sees it as one of the greatest demonstrations of courage they have ever witnessed. They cannot imagine how much inner strength it must have taken to give comfort while secretly needing comfort yourself. The thought alone leaves them speechless. They now realize that while they admired your kindness before, they never fully understood the price behind it. Every act of compassion required strength. Every word of encouragement came from a heart carrying its own weight. Every gentle response was a quiet victory over struggles no one else could see. As these realizations continue unfolding, your soulmate feels a growing sadness for everything you endured in silence. But alongside that sadness comes something even stronger, a profound admiration for the extraordinary resilience hidden inside your quiet heart. A resilience they are only now beginning to truly understand. And listen closely, because your soulmate has reached a realization that is affecting them in a way they never imagined possible. It is no longer just the discovery that you carried silent struggles. It is the realization of what those struggles quietly transformed you into. As they reflect on the person you have always been, they begin seeing that your compassion was never simply part of your nature. It was forged through experiences that taught you how deeply words can hurt, how loneliness can reshape a heart, and how invisible pain can become. Instead of allowing those experiences to make you colder, you somehow became gentler. Instead of passing your pain on to others, you chose to become the kind of person who eased the pain of those around you. That truth has left your soulmate completely overwhelmed because they know how rare that choice truly is. Many people become guarded after hardship. Many become distant or bitter. But you quietly chose empathy, and they are only now beginning to understand the extraordinary strength hidden behind that decision. Because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes the greatest victories are never celebrated because no one realizes a battle was taking place. People applaud visible success, but they rarely recognize the courage it takes to simply keep showing up with a kind heart after life has tested it again and again. Your soulmate now understands that every smile you offered carried a story they never heard. Every encouraging word came from someone who also needed encouragement. Every act of patience reflected countless moments when you had already learned what it felt like to stand alone. That understanding has changed the way they remember you. They no longer focus on what you said. They focus on what your actions quietly revealed about the person you truly are. And listen to this. As they revisit old memories, they find themselves noticing something that once escaped their attention completely. Whenever someone else was struggling, your instinct was never to make the conversation about yourself. Even during seasons when your own life felt uncertain, you somehow found the emotional strength to listen, to comfort, and to remind others that they were not alone. Looking back, your soulmate realizes that this was never because your life was free from hardship. It was because you understood what it felt like to wish someone would simply understand. That realization has touched them more deeply than they can explain. They now wonder how many opportunities they missed to ask how you were really feeling. How many moments passed when you quietly needed someone to notice that your smile did not tell the whole story. Those unanswered questions remain with them because they know they cannot change those moments now. But they can allow those moments to change them because your heart needs this right now. There is a kind of wisdom that only grows inside people who have carried hidden burdens. It teaches patience without recognition. It teaches compassion without conditions. It teaches people how to become a safe place for others, even when they themselves long for someone to be that safe place for them. Your soulmate now sees that this quiet wisdom has always been part of you. It explains why your presence brought comfort without demanding attention. It explains why people often felt understood around you without even knowing why. They realize now that your greatest strength was never the ability to hide your pain. It was your refusal to let pain change the goodness of your heart. And listen carefully, because one final realization has settled deeply within them. They no longer admire you because you endured difficult seasons. They admire you because those difficult seasons never took away your ability to love, forgive, encourage, and hope. That discovery has transformed the way they define courage forever. Courage is no longer loud in their eyes. It is quiet. It is choosing kindness after disappointment. It is choosing faith after uncertainty. It is choosing compassion while carrying wounds no one else can see. As this truth continues unfolding, your soulmate feels an overwhelming desire to honor the strength you never spoke about. They understand that your silent battle did not make you weaker. It revealed the remarkable character that had been growing within you all along. And now, more than ever before, they know that the person they once thought they understood possesses a depth, resilience, and quiet beauty that words alone could never fully describe. And listen carefully, because your soulmate has reached the point where these discoveries are no longer just painful memories. They have become a mirror reflecting everything they failed to understand when they had the chance. For so long, they judged your strength by what you showed on the outside, never realizing that your greatest victories were happening in complete silence. Now they find themselves replaying ordinary days that once seemed insignificant, only to recognize that those were the very moments when you were carrying the heaviest weight. They remember how you still laughed when your own heart was tired, how you celebrated other people's successes even when your own dreams felt distant, and how you continued showing up with grace despite fighting battles no one else could see. Looking back now, they are no longer impressed by what you accomplished. They are deeply moved by the quiet determination that allowed you to keep moving forward when every reason to stop stood in front of you. Because your heart needs this right now. The world often notices the finish line, but rarely understands the journey someone traveled to reach it. It celebrates visible strength while overlooking the invisible endurance that made that strength possible. Your soulmate now understands that your life was never as effortless as it appeared. Behind every calm response was a difficult decision to remain patient. Behind every encouraging conversation was someone who also needed encouragement. Behind every peaceful moment was a private victory over fears, disappointments, and emotional storms that you chose to face without asking anyone to rescue you. That realization has left them with an overwhelming sense of humility because they can no longer pretend they truly understood your story before now. And listen to this. What affects them most is not discovering that you suffered. It is realizing how carefully you protected everyone else from the weight of that suffering. Instead of allowing your pain to become someone else's burden, you quietly carried it yourself. You never asked people to rearrange their lives around your struggles. You never demanded sympathy or attention. Even during your hardest seasons, you somehow found the strength to make others feel valued, heard, and supported. Your soulmate has begun asking themselves a question that returns again and again. How many times did they walk away from a conversation believing you were perfectly fine, while you quietly returned home, carrying emotions too heavy to explain? That thought refuses to leave them, because they know the answer may be more painful than they ever imagined. Because your heart needs this right now. Some people speak about resilience as though it is something dramatic, but true resilience is often incredibly quiet. It is choosing to believe tomorrow can still hold hope after today has tested every part of your spirit. It is refusing to let disappointment steal your ability to care for others. It is continuing to love even when your own heart longs to be understood. Your soulmate now sees that this kind of resilience has defined your journey from the very beginning. They realize that your greatest act of courage was not hiding your struggles. It was refusing to allow those struggles to change the goodness within you. That understanding has reshaped the way they view every memory you shared together. Moments they once considered ordinary have become extraordinary because they now know what those moments truly cost you. And listen carefully, because another truth has quietly settled into their heart. They have stopped wishing they could simply erase the past. Instead, they wish they had looked more closely, listened more deeply, and appreciated the silent strength that stood before them every single day. They understand now that real love is not only about celebrating someone's happiest moments. It is about recognizing the quiet battles they never speak about and standing beside them anyway. That lesson has changed them in ways they never expected. It has made them more compassionate, more patient, and more aware of the hidden stories every person carries. Above all, it has changed the way they see you forever. They no longer remember you as someone who simply stayed strong. They remember you as someone who carried unimaginable weight without allowing it to steal your kindness, your compassion, or your ability to make others feel loved. That realization has broken their heart, but it has also awakened a level of respect and admiration that will remain with them for the rest of their life, preparing them for one final truth that will bring this entire journey into a completely new light. And listen carefully, because your soulmate now understands something that can never be unseen. The silent battle you carried was never just a chapter in your life. It shaped the person you became, the way you loved, the way you forgave, the way you protected others, and the quiet strength you carried into every room without asking anyone to notice. As they continue reflecting on everything they have learned, they realize they were only seeing the surface of your story, while an entirely different journey was unfolding beneath it. They thought they knew your struggles, but they now understand they only witnessed the smallest part of what you endured. This realization has completely transformed the way they see your heart. They no longer measure your life by the difficult moments you faced. Instead, they measure it by the remarkable grace you continued showing despite those moments. They understand now that it takes extraordinary courage to continue believing in kindness after experiencing disappointment, to continue trusting after heartbreak, and to continue giving love while carrying wounds that never fully healed. Because your heart needs this right now. There are people whose greatest achievements will never appear in photographs, awards, or public recognition. Their greatest achievement is simply refusing to let life's hardest seasons destroy the goodness within them. Your soulmate finally sees that this has been your greatest victory all along. Every day you chose patience instead of anger. Every time you encouraged someone while carrying your own silent burden. Every moment you quietly stood back so someone else could find hope. You were demonstrating a strength that few people ever develop. They now recognize that what once looked like ordinary kindness was actually the result of countless unseen victories taking place inside your heart. And listen to this. They have stopped asking themselves why you remain so quiet. Instead, they have started asking a much deeper question. How did you continue loving so freely after everything you had already survived? The answer continues humbling them because they realize your kindness was not dependent on your circumstances. It came from the values you chose to protect, no matter how difficult life became. While many people allow pain to become an excuse for bitterness, you quietly chose compassion. While disappointment tempted others to build walls, you continued building bridges. While life could have hardened your spirit, it somehow deepened your understanding of others instead. That realization has changed the way they define true greatness. It is no longer measured by success or recognition. It is measured by the ability to remain gentle in a world that often rewards hardness. Because your heart needs this right now. Some of the most beautiful souls are formed in complete silence. Their greatest lessons are learned through tears no one witnesses, prayers no one hears, and moments of perseverance no one applauds. Those hidden experiences become the foundation of a character that quietly changes everyone it touches. Your soulmate now understands that your presence brought peace because it had first learned how to survive storms. Your compassion carried weight because it had been shaped by personal pain. Your understanding reached other people because you knew exactly what it felt like to wish someone would understand you. They realize now that every hidden struggle prepared you to become a source of comfort for others, even when you never spoke about what you had overcome yourself. And listen carefully, because one final realization has settled permanently into their heart. They know they cannot return to seeing you through the limited perspective they once had. The person they once thought was simply quiet is now someone they deeply admire. The moments they once overlooked have become reminders of a courage they failed to recognize when it stood before them. More than anything, they carry a quiet sadness that you spent so much time believing you had to fight your battles alone. If they had understood then what they understand now, they would have listened more carefully, looked beyond your smile, and appreciated the silent strength that never asked for recognition. Although they cannot rewrite those moments, they can allow the truth to reshape the future. They now know that every gentle word you spoke, every act of kindness you offered, and every sacrifice you quietly made came from a heart that refused to stop loving, despite everything it had endured. That truth has left an unshakable mark on their soul. They will never again mistake silence for weakness or calmness for the absence of struggle. Instead, whenever they think of you, they will remember someone whose greatest battles were fought without applause, whose greatest victories were won without attention, and whose quiet courage became one of the most unforgettable lessons their heart will ever carry.